Oh, hello, yes, well, turned out hottest day on record again. Yes, didn't it? Yes, anyway. Bit of a shock about the local elections. Yeah, I've no idea what the results are, and whatever, I don't care. Yes, anyway, today we'll be very pleased that we're waking up to, well, a country where no one is racist, and certainly no one's a fascist, and definitely no one's a Nazi. Yes, my eye was drawn, inevitably perhaps, to this yesterday. Royal Marine Commando John Carr strenuously denies being a neo-Nazi, in inverted commas, while a member of the Homeland Party. He says he would not be if the party held such affiliations. It's a party that it is in no way affiliated with anything Nazi at all, he told Kev off Talk TV. And, Kev naturally was, feeling very silly asking him if he was a neo-Nazi, because nobody is a neo-Nazi, are they? Nobody's a racist in the UK. No one's homophobic. Well, I mean, obviously there are racists. There are people like me that, can't stand their own colour. Ugh, yes, people like me. We're the homophobes and the xenophobes and the rest of it. Whereas, people like Royal Marine Commando John Carr obviously can't be. Yes. Anyway, yes, he's promoting the idea that perhaps girlies are being allowed into the army when they shouldn't be. Effectively, you can find this stuff out for yourself. But the thing that got me about this, of course, is that it flies in the face of any journalistic evidence whatsoever, because I do sometimes say this here. If you get invited to your neighbour's place and you notice that everyone that your neighbour has invited is a member of the BNP, then it's a reasonable assumption that, your neighbour is a member of the BNP. Might not be, but it's a reasonable thing to make, isn't it? And if they are a member of the BNP, of course, you could probably make some reasonable assumptions about what their politics might be. Not neo-Nazi, obviously, nobody's a neo-Nazi, but kind of Nazi, well, adjacent, one might say, yes. I mean, it's a bit like all of those people that will swear blind that, the Mussolinis, the actual biological Mussolinis, grandchildren of Mussolini, who are involved in right-wing politics in Italy, aren't fascists, even though that's kind of what they are, isn't it? Now, you can argue the toss about whether or not somebody is a Nazi, and technically speaking, that's somebody who would at least tick a lot of the boxes for fascism and at the same time be anti-Semitic, which these days is sort of slightly problematic, of course, because everybody on the right really, really is thinks lovely things about all the Jewish people in Israel for a number of reasons that have to do with vastly persuading you that Muslims are all bad and should be deported. But the thing about John and his strenuous denials is he's either really, really, really stupid or he's lying. And I don't think he's lying, obviously. But if you do go along to Homeland meetings, and there's some links down below, because they are very keen on that kind of third way business, and very, very much into the kind of making sure that their message, or a bit like John Carr, gets through on mainstream media, a bit like Talk TV. Yeah, very keen on those kind of things, those kind of entryist stuff that the BNP were into. But, of course, the whole thing about the Homeland. Yeah, it does sound like a film set in Nazi Germany, doesn't it? But anyway, leaving that aside, I'm sure it isn't, because of course they wouldn't be, because John wouldn't of course lie about those things. He wouldn't do that, would he? No, definitely not. So anyway, yeah, is that they are an offshoot of Patriotic Alternative, who are actually a prescribed Nazi organisation. And I mentioned that all the people at that from the Homeland Party got a bit worried about the fact that the patriotic lot were Nazis and decided to split off, because they definitely weren't Nazis. But of course the Patriotic Alternative and the rest of them, of course, are basically splinter groups from the BNP, who sort of. I'm sure they weren't Nazis, because of course they also had this kind of viewpoint about making sure that their views were mainstream. And if you look at the BNP, they were of course an offshoot of the National Front, who, unfortunately were actually Nazis. But, if you think about modern British politics, where the National Front were in the 1970s in terms of the policies that they were suggesting, is exactly where somewhere like Rupert Lowe is. And if you do choose to have a look at the Homeland Party on Twitter, some of the suggestions that it'll make for you are things like, well, the National Front. Odd that, isn't it? But I'm sure that's just, Twitter getting it all wrong like they always do, because of course no one's a Nazi, are they? No one's a racist, apart from me. Yeah, yeah, you can't trust me. And anyway, you know, they're all socialists, and socialists are bad, so that's okay anyway, isn't it? Yes, anyway, I do love the fact that our media will platform anybody that basically agrees with them. And again, that does tie into the idea that nobody is a Nazi, because of course if you find yourself agreeing with the racial elements of the Homeland Party, if you like Isabel Oakeshott for example in today's Telegraph, then it gets to be problematic, doesn't it? Because we all know that Nazis are bad. We've all seen Indiana Jones saying how much he hates them, and yeah, so luckily nobody, even if they agree with the Nazis, is a Nazi, so we can all rest safely in our beds, can't we? Unless of course you're worried about me, in which case you need to stare at the ceiling sweating, because I am coming for you. Anyway, we do have a glorious, still warm today, and bank holiday. Oh, Monsieur Lameda, you are spoiling us now. Enjoy.